Hey there, welcome to another episode of Soap Goes to the Oscars. This is episode 81, and this is the first movie that I watched for the 1938 Oscars. It's the 11th ceremony. They were still calling it Outstanding Production at this time. And this is all 1938 movies. And the Oscar ceremony took place on February 23rd, 1939. My birthday. Obviously, not my birthday. I was born in 1975, but February 23rd is my birthday. So, been a few times that because of when they do it, it's landed on my birthday, I believe. So, yay for me. This was The Adventures of Robin Hood that I watched. Watched it on March 31st. Nope. I watched it on March 28th, and I'm recording this on March 31st. This was available on Tubi, and when I was like looking up where these movies were available, I saw it was available on Tubi, but it was leaving at the end of March, so I had to make sure that this was my first movie to watch just so that I could get it for free. I think a couple of the other ones, three other ones are available on the Internet Archive, one on Daily Motion, and then the rest I think I'll have to rent. So, but not bad. I prefer renting over having to buy a DVD, so that's always a plus. All right, so The Adventures of Robin Hood is a 1938 American epic swashbuckler film from Warner Brothers Pictures. It was produced by Hal B. Wallace and Henry Blank, directed by Michael Curtis, and William Cayley, and written by Norman Riley Rain and Seton I. Miller. Stars Errol Flynn as the legendary Saxon knight Robin Hood, who, in Richard's absence in the Holy Land during the Crusades, fights back as the outlaw leader of a rebel guerrilla band against Prince John and the Norman lords, oppressing the Saxon commoners. Cast also includes Olivia de Havilland, Basil Rathbone, Claude Rains, Patrick Knowles, Eugene Pallett, and Alan Hale. On its premiere on May 14th, 1938, The Adventures of Robin Hood was very well received by critics. The film was a commercial success. It grossed around $4 million at the box office, making it one of the highest grossers of 1938. At the 11th Academy Awards, it received 4 nominations, winning 3: Best Art Direction, Best Film Editing, and Best Original Score. Obviously, it was also Best Picture. In 1995, The Adventures of Robin Hood was deemed culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant by the Library of Congress. Cinematography, wow, 3: Tony Gaudio, Saul Polito, W. Howard Green. Edited by Ralph Dawson. Music by Eric Wolfgang Korngold. Technicolor process or color process Technicolor production company and distributed by Warner Brothers Pictures. Released on May 14th, 1938, as I said, and it has a runtime of 102 minutes. So this is Robin Hood. It's the story of Robin Hood. And in its most basic form, it's like everything you know about Robin Hood. This is it. Now, I will say there wasn't really, in some later ones or more recent ones, the Sheriff of Nottingham is the thing that was Guy of Gisborne was the main sort of villain other than Prince John. This one I sort of like I feel like the Disney version was sort of a direct adaptation of this. But you kind of see the influence on all the other Robin Hood movies. All the way up to and including, Brave, which is not technically Robin Hood, but has a similar sort of story. Kind of. This is really, it occurred to me, at least the way that this one was presented. It's very much like a Romeo and Juliet kind of story with Robin Hood and Marion in this. And, in the beginning of this, she hated him. And then obviously she falls in love with him later on. But so this was in color, it was in Technicolor. And I got to say, I always sort of scoffed at black and white movies, not scoffed, but I was just never really interested in them. And that's partly why, as I've said before, that I wanted to do this was, there's definitely a hole in my movie watching. And again, I will reiterate that I understand that the Academy Awards is not necessarily the epitome of cinema. It's a way for the industry to reward itself and pat itself on the back. I get all that. That does not mean that none of these movies are worth watching. And so this was a way for me to go back and watch, a lot of the movies that maybe I felt like I should have. And so I'm kind of forcing myself to do that. That said, now I've been watching so many black and white movies that when I see a color one, it kind of feels fake. And especially with Technicolor, because the colors are just so bright and it's beautiful. It was a beautiful movie. Like it looked great. The sets were amazing. The colors were so vibrant, especially, they were like Will Scarlet wears red and Robin Hood has green. And they all just were so bright and colorful. And it's very much, like this is right around this year before Wizard of Oz. So, it's that Technicolor process that's what it's made for. So it looks amazing. It's just when it comes on, it's kind of like, oh, all right, color, I guess, but because now I'm just so used to watching so many black and white movies. Obviously, there are still a lot, in the next however many years or decades of the Oscars that are still going to be a lot of black and white movies, and that's fine. Either way, color or black and white, it's just a striking comparison now. So that's it. I wasn't expecting to like this. And one thing I want to mention was most of the cast of this was also in Captain Blood, which I think was in the 1935 Oscars. Errol Flynn, Olivia de Havilland, Basil Rathbone, I think. Can't remember who else. I'm not sure if it was the same director, but it may have been. But this was pretty good. I liked it. I mean, again, it's just the basic Robin Hood story, but it was pretty well done. It was melodramatic in the ways that these 1930s movies are. But overall, I really liked it. And it's only the first one I've watched, so it's at the number one spot at this point. But this was fun. Would it get nominated now? Probably not. It's a little more, I don't know. It's not as haughty as, movies are now. Like everything has to be a prestige picture, I feel like. And you get the ones in like Barbie or something that slips through. Not necessarily undeservedly, just the Oscars is a little more full of itself these days than I think it was maybe in the past. They were a little more open to comedies and things out of the ordinary. So I'm not gonna spend too much time on it. It was good. I liked it a lot. And this one has a long Wikipedia. Obviously, it's about Robin Hood, so there's a lot of variations. Oh, here's a fun fact. A few fun facts. Film's popularity inextricably linked Errol Flynn's name and image with that of Robin Hood in the public eye, even more so than those of Douglas Fairbanks, who had played the role in 1922. Film became a benchmark for later movie adaptations of Robin Hood. This was the third film to pair Flynn and Olivia de Havilland after Captain Blood and Charge of the Light Brigade. They would ultimately star together in 9 films, the aforementioned and Four's Crowd, The Private Lives of Elizabeth and Essex, Dodge City, Santa Fe Trail, They Died with Their Boots On, and Thank Your Lucky Stars, although they shared no scenes in the last film. Scenes and costumes worn by the characters have been imitated and spoofed endlessly. For instance, in the 1949 Bugs Bunny animated short film Rabbit Hood, Bugs is continually told by dim-witted Little John, "Don't you worry, never fear, Robin Hood will soon be here." When Bugs finally meets Robin at the end of the film, he is stunned to find that it is Errol Flynn in a spliced-in clip from this film. He subsequently shakes his head and declares it couldn't be him. Other parodies were Daffy Duck and Porky Pig and Robin Hood Daffy, and Goofy and Black Pete and Goof Troop episode Goofin' Hood and His Melancholy Men. The Court Jester, a musical comedy starring Danny Kaye, is in great measure a spoof of Robin Hood. Basil Rathbone even appears as the villain and has a climactic sword fight with Kaye. Most of the Mel Brooks parody Robin Hood Men in Tights relied on this film for its aesthetics, although the plot was almost completely a riff on Robin Hood Prince of Thieves, as well as referencing the 1973 Disney version. Mel Brooks also spoofed the Robin Hood legend in his 1975 television series When Things Were Rotten. Fragment of one of the film's sword fighting scenes was converted to sprites by Jordan McNair and used for his 1989 platform game Prince of Persia. Errol Flynn's acrobatic swordplay became a crucial touchstone for the lightsaber duels choreography in Star Wars movies, One thing I will say is that the fight scenes, they did seem to speed them up. So I'm guessing they did them at a relatively slow speed, probably for safety reasons, and then they sped them up, which looked a little funky. In Disney's 2010 animated film Tangled, the appearance and personality of Flynn Rider are partially inspired by that of Errol Flynn, with his surname also being used in homage. Yeah, so that's it. A few fun facts there. That's all I got. Oh, wait. A sequel, Sir Robin of Locksley, was announced but never developed. I did see something, like the Further Adventures of Robin Hood or something, but it didn't have Errol Flynn in it. So, yeah, that's all I got. See you next time.